Next, we take a closer look with Julie Thompson and Plymouth County District Attorney Timothy Cruz.
Good afternoon, and welcome to A Closer Look. Today we're taking a closer look at the District Attorney's Office, and especially the District Attorney Timothy Cruz, who's been DA for the Plymouth County for 23 years. 23 years. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Now, when we say we want to take a closer look at the DA, your website, which is PlymouthDA.com.
Correct.
If you, as a person, go to this website, you will find 1,000 different tabs you can go to, and there's just a myriad of information as in terms of what you do and what you have brought forward in the 23 years that you've been doing this job. If you had to, in a nutshell, say, what does a DA do, or what do I do as a DA, what would you say?
You know, I'm often asked that question, and I'll always say, well, you know, do you watch Law and Order? And people will say, oh yeah, I watch Law and Order. And do you watch CSI? And they'll say, yeah, I watch CSI. So it's nothing like that. That's television.
Right.
My job is to run a group of individuals, roughly 60 lawyers, probably a staff of 150 altogether, including the state police who work with us, and try to make sure that we can navigate our way through the criminal justice system and really to keep people safe and to protect people, whether it be on the front end or the back end or all the many things we do in the middle.
So you not only protect people, but you educate.
Right.
You identify trends, problems, conditions, and then you try to come up with programs that will help address them or educate people about them. Tell me some of the things that you're most proud of that you've been able to bring forward as a DA.
Well, there's been so many different things, but I think one of the things from which many other things spawned off of was really trying to help kids who are traumatized, kids who witness violence. And we started this probably 16, 17 years ago from a case that happened in the city of Brockton. And we've kind of taken that on the road. And we showed a lot of people what we were doing, talking to people who are very smart, dealing with kids who are being traumatized because it affects their whole life.
Sure.
And it puts them in cycles of, kids who unfortunately are living in a world of domestic violence, child abuse. How do you break those cycles? How do you help those kids? That's really what this is about.
Right.
And so that's why I look at what we're doing on the front end, going into the schools, talking to the kids that need the help the most, helping them make sure they can navigate their way through just a regular day at school.
Right.
Now more than ever. I mean, mental health issues are unabated in many instances, and since COVID, kids, I think, have a very difficult time in schools. How can the DA's office be involved on the front end? And most importantly, how do we collaborate with everybody else?
Right.
And how can we work together?
Your partners.
Right.
Who do you consider your greatest partners to help you bring forward the initiatives and the programs that you want to succeed?
A lot of the different agencies, faith-based issues, we deal with, faith-based, we deal with the legislators, we deal with the judiciary, we deal with educators, we deal with medical professionals, we deal with the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
We all work together. We have so many great things and that have made a real difference, I think, in our community. And many people say to me that they look at what we're doing down here and they say, how do you get all these people involved? How do you do that? And it's one step at a time.
Right.
It's making sure you can get somebody and you can tell them, here's what we're going to do. Here's why we think it's going to be worthwhile. And can you help us do it?
Right.
And most people want to help.
Of course they do.
And whether or not there's going to be resources for it, that's always going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Can we provide resources and can we get in front of that problem? And that's what this is about. And that's the way that I look at the job.
Right. Now, you must every day can bring something that you didn't expect. I mean, I'm sure you have a to-do list and you have your calendar, and at any moment of any day you can get a phone call that blows up your day, maybe your week, maybe your month.
Yeah.
How do you keep as positive as you do and keep barreling forward when constantly you're having things thrown at you all the time? How do you do it?
Well, I mean, I just think we have, and what people should know is we have a really good group of people that I trust, over the years, where some people have come, some people have gone, but while they were there, the people that I can rely on and that I can trust to make sure that we're doing the right thing at all levels. And that's what I have to, there's too many balls in the air. You can't juggle them all.
Right.
And whether it be something that's, a case that may have occurred in a small district court, well, to somebody, that's a really big, important case.
Right.
We need to make sure they understand that and that we're treating it that way.
Yeah.
And whether or not it's going to be maybe a case that might be in the front page of the newspaper or on television
Right.
or on cable, you never know when those are coming.
Right.
So how do you put yourself in a position? You surround yourself by good people. You tread slowly. Slow and steady wins the race. I believe that.
Yeah.
And you try to get all the information you can. And when we show up at these terrible situations many times in the middle of the night, the goal is, okay, what do we have to do so when this case is tried in the next 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it's going to be, how do we cross our T's
Yep.
and dot our I's and objectively do our job and do it now?
Right.
We don't have the luxury of looking back and being Monday morning quarterback
Right.
3 years from now.
Right.
So how do you get people in those positions? And I think that we've been able to bring people up, through the ranks, bring people from other places, making sure that they understand what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And we're going to do the right thing, and we're going to get to a just result. You may not agree with the result,
Right.
but I may not agree with the result.
Yeah.
But we have a job to do, and we're in the criminal justice system, and we have a job to keep people safe.
Yep.
On the front end, on the back end, and the middle.
Right. Okay. So that's your biggest objective, is to keep people safe. But you also keep people educated, and you do an awful lot of outreach. You do a lot of programs. Just for example, the grandparents raising kids. Now that all came out of really the opioid crisis, right? That's what started that.
Right.
So one thing started another thing, which started another thing. It snowballs. Does anything ever come to its conclusion and then you're done and you can check that off and move on to something else?
Not really. They seem to always keep going because the problem never really goes away.
Right.
And when you put those efforts, like back in 2015 when we started, myself and Sheriff McDonald started the Plymouth County Drug Abuse Task Force.
Yes.
That's because we saw our numbers, our fatal opioid overdoses going up.
Yeah.
What can we do? Because every town had their own thing going on, whether it be Marshfield Kids, Hingham
Yep.
Kids, whatever it
Yep.
may be. And how do we minimize all these different meetings and bring in the people to the table to talk about these issues?
Right.
And that's when we brought in the educators and judiciary and the legislative and the faith-based. How do you bring those ideas together and working together? And from our task force, we developed, Plymouth County Outreach came out of
Yep.
that, which is another program.
Yep.
And from Plymouth County Outreach, then we saw people showing up, police officers that we trained, first responders that we trained, showing up, bringing resources to the individuals who had been involved in non-fatal opioid overdoses.
Yeah.
But then what were they seeing? They were seeing kids.
Right.
And then many times these kids are kids who have what's known as adverse childhood experiences,
Right.
kids who are drug endangered. How do you help those kids from
Right.
getting in the cycles of drug abuse?
Breaking the cycle.
Yeah,
Which is what you wanna do.
You're right, and so now what do? You're in a situation where maybe the mom passed away, maybe the dad passed away, maybe somebody's in custody. They have all these different ACEs. How do you help those kids? And many times the kids end up with the grandparents.
Right.
And that's where you can see it just continues to step and step and step.
Right, right.
And so I've talked to many people that were grandparents saying that they're my age. Like I'm a senior,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you're dealing with your grandkids and you're 64 years old.
Yeah.
And I'm not, I love my grandkid, but I'm not 34 years
Right,
old.
right.
And it's a different world now.
Right.
How can you put them in a position to succeed
Yeah.
and to help those kids? Because if we don't, those kids down the road could
Right.
very well be back in this whole situation. Breaking those cycles is huge.
And to see more of this interview, go to the Local Scene Government Services YouTube channel. Thanks. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe button before you go. We'll see you next time.